Home Author podcast, your complete guide to the publishing world. As always, my name is Vicki Weber, and I'm here with Brittany Plomeri. We are your experts at Home Author, and today we are joined by Chelsea Tornetto, who is going to talk with us a little bit more about the traditional publishing process, but more specifically, what the common mistakes are when trying to become traditionally published. So, Chelsea, would you mind just introducing yourself?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Chelsea Tornetto. I am a traditionally published author and agented children's book writer. My first book came out from Scholastic in 2018, and it was a book for teachers. I did that without an agent. And then I've gotten an agent since then to rep all my children's books. So, and I'm a teacher too. I guess that's my day job. I'm a teacher. So
that's awesome.
No, that's fantastic. Most of you know that Brittany and I are teachers as well, in addition to being children's book authors. So we love talking to other teachers. So when it comes to trying to get traditionally published, I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed is not doing the research and not knowing where to even start. And so I've seen people just completely scramble and just ask the internet, where do I go? What do I do? And they end up being led in all kinds of directions. So I think that's definitely a problem. Have you guys seen that as well?
I was that when I wanted to get traditionally published. I wish I had Chelsea in my life, because I was definitely looking and Googling and I was like, oh, this sounds really complicated. Like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, so definitely agree on all fronts. And I think it's because, or at least I get the impression that a lot of people want it to happen really quickly. They're in a huge rush to see that. And I get that. I mean, we all want to, we have an idea, we want to see it come to life. And so I think that's a huge part of it, is that they want it to get done quickly. And that's not possible in traditional publishing. It does not happen quickly. And so I think that's a reason why a lot of people get sucked into those vanity publishers, because they make it seem like it can happen really quickly. So if you're going to go the real traditional route, it's just not going to happen fast, and you have to take the time to do all of that research. So yeah, I think that's a huge one.
So when it comes to the vanity presses, for those listening who don't know, a vanity press is exactly what it sounds like. It's a press that appeals to an author's vanity, somebody who just wants to be published. That's actually why they were created in the first place. But a real traditional publisher will pay you, not the other way around. A vanity press is going to ask you for far more money than it would take for you to self-publish the work yourself. So that's something to keep in mind when you are going to be traditionally published. Is a real traditional publisher isn't going to ask you for a dime. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't invest any money in becoming traditionally published, but the publisher itself isn't going to be the one asking you for money. And maybe, Chelsea, you could speak more to what kinds of things should and shouldn't be invested in when it comes to going this route.
You should definitely invest in your career as a writer. That's another, going back to mistakes that people make, is they don't think of it as a commitment to a process. It's like, I just want to get this one book done and that's it. And traditional publishing is more of a career. So you have to kind of like invest in the craft. So take courses, go to workshops, network with other writers. SCBWI, which stands for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, is a organization that, like, I think it's $99 a year or something like that for membership. And that's the kind of thing that is totally worth the investment, because they provide wonderful webinars and seminars and workshops and networking and opportunities to meet agents and editors. And yeah, it's $99, but that's a whole year's worth of career training that you're getting from that. And then you also want to invest in editing. I, even as a traditionally published author, I have an agent that I can send my stuff to, but I still pay for paid critiques from other writers, from professionals, to get some feedback. So those are the main two things that I would recommend investing in.
So I guess you should almost feel like this is a job interview. And when you put yourself out there, you should almost, view it as, hey, I'm not just putting forth a story. I'm putting forth myself. I'm putting forth, this best foot forward.
That's especially true if you plan to get an agent, because the agent, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to hire an agent. And that's totally not, that's just not the way it is. It kind of is. They do work for you. Like they're going to be your advocate and they're going to try to get your work out there, but they have to accept you as a client, not you hiring them. And so it is sort of like a job interview. You have to show them that you are not a one-hit wonder who wants them to spend, hours and hours selling one picture book and then that's it. So you really have to kind of show them that it's a career for you. Now, that doesn't mean that it has to be your full-time job and your only full-time job, because a lot of us writers wouldn't make it if we didn't have our day jobs. So, but it does have to be, that you're committed to the craft.
So I guess one of the other things that I know you mentioned, one of the biggest mistakes that I see is not investing in editing. I've had so many authors come to me like, hey, can you take a look at my story? And I take a look at it and I'm like, ooh, did you send this to agents? Because the concept is there, but the execution is not. And when it comes to agents, they don't want to see the potential. They want to see a marketable, sellable story right now. They want to be able to turn around and go to a publisher and say, look what I've got for you. They don't want to, wait around for you to figure out how to execute it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's especially true if you are a new writer. If you've been writing things for your whole life, and I don't mean like in a journal, I mean like, you're a writer, you've been sharing your work with other writers and doing, then that's different. But if you're like you just had an idea, you're a mom, you had an idea for a great picture book and you wrote it down, that's awesome, but you don't know what you don't know. So to start off with sending to agents right away is, you're going to learn a lot, but that's not where you want to learn it. You want to learn it with an editor first. So finding and critique partners too. I understand not everybody wants to pay for an editor right up front, but finding reliable critique partners to share with and starting there will teach you some of what you don't know before you put yourself out there.
That's why it's so great to make a presence known in the author community, especially with children book authors. There's so many groups to join. Vicki has one as well, where you can get critique from other authors who have been doing this. That's how me and Vicki started to begin with talking to each other. We're completely across the country from each other, but we talk every single day nonstop. So,
that's true.
It's just like, it's where you can go. We're all in this together. We're all doing this as a business. We're all working for the same goal and we know what we're talking about. So if you want to find a critique, the best place to go is to your competition.
Well, and I definitely feel like just as an author in general, like you said, Brittany, is we've seen so many children's picture books because you do your research. And if you want support as an author, you need to give support as an author. So going to other authors for that support is always a great idea because especially if they're experienced, they're going to know these things. There's also other routes if you're not sure. You can hire a coach, you can take courses. That is something that At Home Author, we do offer self-paced courses and coaching as well. But like we said, there's also free opportunities out there for you in addition to that. I just think that one of the biggest mistakes that authors who want to be traditionally published make is not being prepared to spend any money or having nothing set aside. You don't have to spend thousands. You don't have to spend hundreds, but you do have to be prepared that expenses will come up occasionally. And you have to be prepared to invest in yourself. I think that's my viewpoint of it is it's not just you investing in your story. It's you investing in yourself. And like Chelsea said, investing in your career. So even if it's $10 here, $20 there, be prepared for those things to come up.
Yeah. And sometimes that's like also a great confidence booster is to put yourself out there, whether it's investing money or time or whatever, but interacting with those other authors can show you that you can do it. You know, you can kind of get that support from other authors. The very first thing that I did to invest in my writing career was I saw somehow on social media, I came across Highlights Foundation, which is the group that runs the magazines, Highlights. They do retreats in their little farm homestead in Pennsylvania. And it was like $700-800. No, actually, it was double that they offered scholarships. And so I applied and I got a half scholarship. And I went ahead and invested and did that. That was my Christmas and birthday and Mother's Day gift and the whole year's gifts to myself. And it was the best thing I ever did because I got to meet so many people who were writers like me and learn kind of how to put myself out there. So it can boost your confidence too, to kind of put some time and some money towards yourself.
Now, did you have to be a traditionally published author to do something like that?
No, definitely not. In fact, there were 3 teachers, I guess you would call them, authors who were running the workshop for them. And Darcy Pattinson, I think is how her last name is, Pattinson. She's one of the biggest, most successful self-published. She started her own publishing company. She's got like 50 some titles out there. Very well respected. She's won tons of awards for her work. And she was all about self-publishing. So we had self and traditional publishers there. So.
No, that's awesome. I also just wanted to ask from your perspective, from both of your perspectives, biggest mistakes when it comes to rhyming stories and traditional publishing. I feel like this is a hot button topic that we cannot miss this boat here.
Oh my goodness. Not practicing, not taking courses, not working on your rhyming. If you're coming in and you think that you're the best rhymer, I could tell you you're not. If you just like think it, you're really not. You need to practice. And I'll never forget one of the coaches that I worked with when I first started out. He had said to me that to practice rhyming, it's as simple as sitting in the car and somebody giving you a word and you going with a sentence that ends with that word to rhyme it. So it's just the practice and the editing as well. I mean, whenever I write a book in rhyme, I send it to 3 different editors, all with rhyming, and see what we get back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and then the biggest mistake that I see is with writers who want to be traditionally published with rhyme is, well, okay, 2 things. Thinking that their story has to be in rhyme to work, first of all. Like so many authors think, well, it's just so cute in rhyme. I love the rhyme. It has to be in rhyme. And that is not the case. In fact, traditional publishing probably has more successful books that don't rhyme than do. So that's one. And then the second one is they'll always find some rhyming book out there, traditionally published, and show me that it's not perfect. So they'll say, look, this one, the rhyme is a slightly off at the end. So if they did it, I can do that too. And that's to get into traditional publishing, your first rhyming manuscript has to be, I mean, absolutely perfection when it comes to meter and rhythm and syllable stress and everything. Now, if you're Dr. Seuss, maybe eventually you can throw in a slant rhyme or something here and there, but not when you're starting off. So.
Also, we're all teachers. We've read countless books to the kids. How hard is it when you get to that part in the rhyme where it doesn't go and you're like, ooh. So that's another reason too. I mean, we know how hard it is and important it is to rhyme completely because we're the ones reading it.
Well, and I feel like too, when it comes to rhyming, a really good rhyming story, first of all, it has to rhyme. You would be amazed. No, you two wouldn't be amazed. But listeners, you would be amazed at how many rhyming books I've read that have random lines that don't rhyme. Like not even kind of. It'll be like hat and shoe. And I'm like, that's not what? No. But they're just like, oh, I got stuck. So I just figured this line was fine. No, it's not. If it's a rhyming story, it's got to rhyme. But then, so has to rhyme. The meter has to be good. But the third thing is that every line has to build the plot. I feel like most of the time, a new author only has 2 of those things. It'll rhyme and the meter will be good, but they'll talk in circles and like there's no story arc. or they'll build the plot, but it doesn't rhyme. So it's really important to have all three of those moving parts. It's so difficult, but it really is what makes or breaks a rhymings book.
If you have not yet found the YouTube channel, Lyrical Language Lab by Renee Latulippe, just go watch every single episode that she has. She also offers, I think it's called a peak critique or something, where you can actually send your rhyming manuscript to her and she might pick it to analyze in her next video. But she's just amazing. I mean, she's really technical. She goes over my head sometimes with some of the terminology that she uses, but just to watch someone who's that good at rhyme is really helpful. So
she actually has videos that you can buy, which I did, to help out as well, like a little course that she holds too for rhyming.
I feel like I would be scared a little bit to be like, pick me apart. That's another hard thing as an author, to be like, yep, here's my heart on a platter. And I think that's why some people hesitate to send it to an editor, is because they're like, oh gosh, what if it's not good enough? But I cannot speak highly enough about the editors I've used. I know, Chelsea, you're one of them, but all of the editors I've used have seriously been so fantastic at being like, what is your vision? And how do we get what's on the page to match what you have in your head and what you have in your heart and what you want it to be? So for anybody hesitating, not every editor is going to be the best for you or your manuscript. Don't be afraid to have another one. I always have multiple editors look at my books because I really want as many perspectives as possible. But there are so many good ones out there. Don't be afraid to employ their help. That's what they're there for.
Yeah. And the other reassurance that I would give, especially to new authors, and I see this all the time, is how do I know that the editor isn't going to steal my story and, take it for their own? And I mean, make sure that you have a legitimate editor who has a service agreement of some kind that they're going to send you that says, I'm not going to steal your work. But this idea that people are out there trolling to just steal everybody's manuscripts and publish them for their own is kind of crazy, because the amount of work and time and energy and money that someone would have to invest into each story, they're probably not going to steal your work. So I wouldn't worry about that.
So Chelsea, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate having you on the At Home Author podcast, and really appreciate the wealth of information that you've provided for us. So thank you. And we'll definitely look forward to having you on again soon.
Thanks for having me.
I think the final tip that I have, or the final common mistake that we see with traditional publishing, is definitely making sure that you don't get it illustrated before querying, because an agent doesn't want illustrations unless you, as the author, are also the illustrator. Traditional publishers use their own illustrators in-house. So if you are paying for illustrations, you're kind of committing to the self-publishing process. So make sure that you do your research beforehand, and that if you want to be traditionally published, you don't spend your money on illustrations.
Yeah. And I mean, just to recap everything that Chelsea so graciously gave us was, when you're trying to go the traditional route, you need to make sure that if you're just starting out, take courses, meet with coaches, meet with people that have done this before, show them what your ideas are, and kind of get a better feel of if you're going in the right direction or it needs to get changed a little bit. Get it edited. If it's not once, it's 3 times. Can't say that enough. You don't want to go to your job interview with your rough draft. So definitely make sure that you're getting it edited. But all in all, I took away so many great tips from today. So I can't wait to try to get myself out there in the traditional publishing world as well.
Thanks for listening to the At Home Author podcast. Don't forget to check out our courses, coaching, and consulting on our website, www.athomeauthor.com, and share with a friend.